Christian parenting.
If you're a woman, so much of your health starts with your hormones. When your hormones are off, everything else is off too, including things like your digestive issues, mood, mental clarity, energy levels, weight management, and so much more. But Hormone Harmony is a game changer for women who are struggling with hormonal imbalances that leave them just exhausted, physically and mentally. It only contains science-backed ingredients that bring back comfort, energy, clarity, confidence, and a sense of balance. Happy Mammoth is the company that produces Hormone Harmony, and it is famous for its zero compromise policy. That means no GMOs, artificial fillers, or flavors, or any other junk. Only science-backed ingredients in amounts that are clinically proven. The company, they surveyed 1,831 women to see how Hormone Harmony helped them, and the results are mind-blowing. So 86% of women started losing weight, 77% say it improved their mood, and 100% said that they were feeling like themselves again. Hormone Harmony, over that, has over 50,000 raving reviews from women all over the world, with 98% of them saying they'd gladly recommend it to their friends and family. You can try Hormone Harmony risk-free and get a 15% off your first order with code CPPodcast at checkout. Hey friends, welcome to the Christian Parenting Podcast. I know that as Christian parents, we all really desire for our kids to follow God's big call for their lives. And that takes discernment and bravery and a little bit of letting go too. And we are talking about that today on the show. I am joined by Katie Davis Majors. She's been on once before, and I will link that episode in show notes that you can go back and listen to that one too. But today we're talking about what happens when a gap year turns into a lifelong mission. So she shares how her time serving in an orphanage in Uganda opened her eyes to the deeper roots of poverty and inspired the creation of Amazima Ministries. Beyond that, Katie reflects on the joys and challenges of parenting with compassion, the lessons she learned from her own parents, and the importance of letting go of control in both family life and ministry. If you've ever wondered how to raise kids who care deeply about others, follow God's calling in their lives, or how to serve faithfully without burning out, Katie's story will leave you encouraged and inspired. So enjoy. Hi, Katie. Welcome back to the Christian Parenting Podcast.
Hey there. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here today. We were talking a little bit earlier about how it's just a crazy season and we don't know what day of the week it is and things are just busy. So thank you for taking time out to talk with us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah. We're going to go into more of your story today and talk about your work and all of the things that you do with your amazing life. So I think many of our listeners know parts of your story, but can you just recap a little bit briefly, a little bit about you, what you do, and how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. The brief rendition of it is that when I was 18, I moved to Uganda. Originally, my plan was to take a gap year between high school and college and serve in an orphanage in Uganda, a place that my mom and I had been once before on a short-term trip. And I moved over there thinking that I was going to help out in a kindergarten program that this orphanage was starting. But while I was there, I fell in love with the community that I was a part of. I fell in love with the Ugandan culture. Uganda is just an incredibly beautiful place full of incredibly kind and hospitable people. And so that was really formative for me as an 18 and then 19-year-old. But also while I was there, I learned that the majority of the children living in the orphanage had at least one living parent. A lot of them who lived in that same community were very close by and would have loved the opportunity to parent their children. But because of the extreme costs of school, a lot of families sent their kids to live at the orphanage so that they could be connected with a sponsor in America and have their school fees paid. And this was really kind of the way that that community felt that their children would have the best access to a bright future and education. And that was just heartbreaking to me because I loved these kids so much and I would hear them talk about their moms and dads or their siblings or their grandparents. And here they were growing up kind of removed from them. So within the first year that I was there, I kind of was sharing this with my mom and my dad and a couple family friends and just saying what if we could pull together some resources to have sponsors for children that would pay for their school, but they would still be able to live in their homes with their families? Because I really believe poverty should not create orphans and should not create broken families. And so my parents started kind of raising awareness here in the United States, and different friends started sending me money, and I helped pay for a couple kids in the community to go to school while they were still staying at home so that they weren't at risk of being brought to the orphanage. And the short version of it is that 2 kids turned into 10, and 10 turned into 20, and 20 turned into 40. I was keeping a blog that went kind of viral before we called it that. But just a lot of people started reading my blog, and a lot of people, even people that I didn't know, were hearing this story and were asking, can we donate? Can we donate? Can we help you? So super cool. Just totally, I mean, only the hand of God can do that, right? Just totally a testimony of what God can do when you are just honestly young and potentially a little naive in your faith, and you just keep saying like, maybe I can help. Maybe I could do something. Maybe I could find money for this need. So within the first year that I was living in Uganda, I was collecting finances from the United States and sending about 40 children in our community to the local schools there.
Wow.
And I really kind of decided over the course of the year that I wanted that to be my life's work. And I felt that that was what God had put on my heart to do with my life. And so that kind of gap year ended up turned into about 16 years that I lived in Uganda, met my husband in Uganda. I adopted children in Uganda. I had biological children in Uganda. And all the while, God just continued to grow. Our ministry is called Amazima. So we chose that name. Amazima is the Luganda word for truth. So just based on John 8:32, where Jesus says, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. And so really my heart for these students and families that I had come to love to, yes, have access to education and food and good nutrition, but also that they would have access to the gospel, that they would know the truth of the gospel of Jesus and the way that he created them with such value and worth and importance in the kingdom. And so over the next 15 years, Amazima grew and grew. We have about 750 students that we're connected to now, as well as community outreaches to their families. So that ends up impacting thousands of individuals. We have multiple schools now where we have kids from the community and students that we sponsor come and go to school together. And really, we strive to teach them an excellent education paired with the gospel and really make discipleship the center and the heart of what we're doing. So super cool, super fun. I mean, super like amazing to watch God move and just like blow away all my expectation. I mean, anything that I could have planned or dreamed, he has so wildly succeeded. And then about 3 years ago now, our family moved to the United States. So we're living in the Nashville area now, but I get to stay really connected with Amazima. We have an amazing, predominantly Ugandan team on the ground that runs all the day-to-day operations of ministry. And then I get to work from here and honestly just be an encouragement to them, but also spread the word about Amazima and what we're doing to get more people from kind of this side of the ocean involved in the good work that's going on in Uganda.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have so many questions that I could ask you, but I think I want to go first. I think about your parents and like your mom going with you to a short-term mission trip, being like, this is going to be so fun for us and so impactful. And then you go back and then you stay and then you've done all these amazing things. Like, and obviously they've invested so much in your faith and your story and your heart and your calling and supported you. And I imagine that you do the same for your kids too. So tell me a little bit, like, for parents who are listening, like what encouragement would you give them for raising kids who are just like compassionate and on fire for Jesus and just have a heart and a calling that they're like, I don't know what to do with this kid's calling?
Yeah. Well, I love this question and I feel like I could talk about it for a long, long time. It's something I'm super passionate about, especially as I get older and look back at my upbringing and ask that question like, okay, what what caused me to desire that? What was different? My parents both, I mean, they're both believers. I was definitely raised in the church, and they were very well connected to our church and served in our church and taught Sunday school and did service projects. And so I think growing up in a faith-based community was obviously hugely impactful. My parents also just really are very compassionate people. And it's funny because when I grew up with them, I don't think I would have said that. It's mom and dad. It's just regular. Yeah. It's what you know. But the older I get, the more I look at them and just see how abundantly and compassionate and kind they are to all people. And so, I mean, my mom will strike up a conversation with anybody. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter what they look like. And I think I just watched that. And I think more than them telling me this is how you interact with the world, I watched my parents interact in a way that was very inclusive of others. So I grew up in a pretty affluent neighborhood. I really never lacked for anything. And my parents were very keen to teach me that the whole world doesn't live this way. We traveled quite a bit when I was little, but we also were super engaged with different service opportunities in and around the Nashville area. My mom was always super active in serving, and she just brought me and my little brother along with that. And so I think a lot of what I would say, even to parents now, that I remind myself based on my own parents' example is like, it's so much more about how you live and what you do with your children and in front of your children than it is what you say, right? And so my parents, yes, they talked to me about being kind and compassionate, but man, I think what really sunk in was their example. And I was not afraid to go to Uganda, and I was not afraid to interact with people that were different than me or spoke a different language than me or lived a completely different life than me, because my parents had really modeled that was not a scary thing. And so, they just, I feel like they treated people with a lot of equity no matter what. And they entered into, they both were very involved. My dad still drives the bus for a program at the church that he goes to where unhoused people can come and spend the night when it's cold. And he, every Saturday, super early in the morning, he goes and picks them up. And then super early on Sunday morning, he takes them back. And he doesn't really talk about it. Like, he doesn't really say anything about it. He just does that. And so I think I learned, that's how we live. And so I hope that I'm living in that way in front of my own children too, that they just see oh, mom just jumps in and serves people. Mom looks for opportunities to help others. Like, when mom sees a need, she kind of jumps into it. And I think, I think they learned so much by example. Another thing that my parents did really well that I really hope I can do also is they were not hesitant to let other Christian adults really take me under their wing. And they were not territorial about that, especially as I got older in middle school and high school. My freshman year of high school, a woman around my mom's age who was a believer took an interest in me through Young Life and started really mentoring and discipling me. And that made a huge impact in my faith, because my mom was a believer, yes, but to see somebody else so in love with Jesus and allowing their love of Jesus to transform how they lived their daily life was so impactful to me. And that's why, that's a huge reason that Amazima is based off of discipleship. We want every student that comes into our school, that comes through our doors, to have a mentor, whether that is a teacher, whether that is their actual assigned mentor, which they do have, whether that's a cook or a groundskeeper. It doesn't matter, but we want every student to have an adult who's really deeply invested in them, because that was transformative for my faith. So I would encourage parents, especially as their kids get older, it can be hard to kind of loosen the reins. And it can be hard when you're I don't know, for me anyway, especially with my teenage girls, I'm oh, you want to hang out with that mom? You don't want to hang out with me? It has been a huge gift and blessing. We have a few women from our church who really pour into my teenagers, and that's been transformative for them. And I know it was transformative for me. So I really try to foster that time and make sure it happens, because we can't do it alone. We need other people to speak into our children's lives and into their faith. And I think that is just a really good gift.
Yeah. As parents, we all want our kids to do well in school and feel really confident. Maybe you have a child who's struggling with a specific subject and needs a little extra help, or maybe your child is ahead and wants to really challenge themselves, or maybe you're like me and you just want to avoid the summer slide and head back to school strong in the fall. If you can relate to any of those things, you need to look into IXL. IXL is an online learning program that enriches your curriculum, whether it's homeschool or in-school curriculum. It offers practice in math, English language arts, science, and social studies while adapting to each child, meeting them exactly where they are. Plus, IXL encourages students to be curious and empowers them to choose how they learn. We have used IXL at our house for all of my kids, and it's been really helpful. We used it as a supplement to our math curriculum when we homeschooled, and then we used it for extra practice before tests too. So one of my friends has her son do some IXL work before math tests so that she can see that he has the material mastered. I thought that was a great idea, so we have done that too. Everything on IXL is organized by grade, subject, topic, and subtopic, making it really simple to find activities for the exact skills that you're covering. IXL is trusted by 15 million students worldwide and has been proven to improve performance in over 75 scientific research studies. That's amazing. You can make an impact on your child's learning and get IXL now. And Christian Parenting Podcast listeners get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/today. Again, you can visit IXL.com/today to get the most effective learning program out there at the very best price. Are you raising a creative kid with a head full of ideas and a heart full of determination? If you are, then you're going to love Marianne the Maker, a brand new picture book from bestselling author Kelly Corrigan and debut author Claire Corrigan-Litchie. This book is about a determined young inventor named Marianne. Marianne's days are filled with schedules, structure, and soccer, but there's just one problem. Marianne is a maker, and she needs every minute of her weekends to scheme and dream, draw and design, to build and rebuild. And this is the story of how a creator with a big imagination finds a not-so-great way to skip practice and create her masterpiece. But will her dad understand? Told in delightful rhyme with gorgeous collage-style illustrations, Marianne the Maker is sure to kindle the creative spark that lives inside of all of us. You can buy your copies of Marianne the Maker wherever books are sold. Well, and I think about everything you just said, and I'm like, okay, I'm sure your parents had many conversations with you about generosity and serving and compassion and justice and all these things, but like that's not what you really remember. I mean, I'm sure you remember some of them, but it's their actions. And then when you're able to see other people acting the same way and you start to notice that there's like a pattern here, that people who follow Jesus act a little different. It's not just my mom and dad, and it's not just them lecturing me. Like there's something else.
Right.
And we have to give that to our kids. But you're right, it is hard because I would like to be able to do it all myself.
Absolutely. Me too. And I want to be their favorite person. Duh.
Yeah. And like, I want them to just listen to me when I say something instead of listening to my friend who says the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, come on.
Right. And then they come home and they're like, well, so-and-so said, and you're like, yeah, I know. I said that too, but it was different coming from them, and that's okay.
Yeah, I know. And it's so good. It's so important. There's so much research to suggest that you do need other adults in your kid's life. So I love that is a priority, not just in your home, but in your school too, that is something that is just really going to help faith be solidified and create little disciples who are going to go out and change the world, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk a lot at Amazima about not ever wanting to replace the parents, but wanting to come alongside them. And exactly what you're saying, wanting our students to have not only parents as examples, but also a community of other adults around them who are leading by example. Because you're right. I'm sure there were lots of conversations my parents had with me. I mean, I know that there were.
Yeah.
So much more than I remember any exact words. I remember the way that they interact with the world.
Throughout your story and everything that you've done, I mean, like moving multiple times, adopting multiple kids, having multiple kids, starting all these organizations and having different roles. Like, what were some of the hardest parts of your journey, and how have you seen God just be incredibly faithful and do so much more?
Great question. I think one of the hardest parts of my journey, both in ministry and in parenting, is like letting go of control. Really, when I founded Amazima, God like quickly grew the ministry and then simultaneously quickly grew my family because we were beginning to foster and adopt children within a couple years of Amazima first starting. And so there was just a lot going on. And so I had to make the choice to either hold everything with ministry really closely or to start trusting other people to come alongside me and do some of it. And by the grace of God, he allowed me to let go of different pieces. And, maybe not everything was done the way I exactly would have done it, but it was a great opportunity to watch kind of, the body of Christ. Paul talks about there are all different parts with different functions. And one of the greatest things that God did for me very early in ministry was he brought 2 or 3 people who were very, very different than me alongside me as part of my staff. And a lot of times they did stuff that maybe was different than the way I would have done it. But in looking back, I see that because we all had really different strengths, that was part of what caused our ministry to really grow and thrive in the early days. And then, as it continued to grow and simultaneously my family started to grow and we started homeschooling, it was really kind of like, okay, you can't do all of this. So I was almost kind of forced to choose, which again, I think in a lot of ways is a grace of God, because had I not had my hands so full at home, I probably would have held all the ministry stuff a little more closely. And I think it's possible that in doing that, I could have stifled it a bit, but I really had to trust other people to lead in ministry spaces so that I could focus on my family. And so just letting go of control and appreciating other people's strengths was really helpful, really hard, but really good. And then also asking for help. Like I find it I'm a go-getter, obviously. And I find it very hard to ask for help, but like my life requires help. Daily, hourly, people ask me, I get this question on like Instagram all the time, like, how do you do it all? And my answer is just like, oh, I don't. Like, please, I don't do it all. I am not the leader of our ministry anymore. I still am involved and work with our ministry, but I am definitely not in charge. I have help with my home. I have help with my kids. Now I have big kids who I call all the time to help drive their siblings to stuff. I mean, none of us are doing it by ourselves, and we're not made to. And then those lessons have continued to repeat themselves over and over in my own and in parenting, because now we have children who are young adults. And that has been a huge practice in letting go of control in different ways and just kind of saying, okay, God, I do trust you with my children, which I mean, that's something I've been saying since they were little. But when they're little, you can trust God with your children and you're still with them most of the time.
Yeah, like at the playground.
Yeah.
Like, I trust you not to let them break their leg, maybe.
Really different to trust God when your children are out there in the world and they're making their own decisions and they're doing their own things. And I think it's just all of it has been probably some of the hardest parts of both ministry and parenting have just been like surrender of my own plans and ways that I think that it should go, and just leaning in to trust God and saying like, okay, I have seen you be faithful before. I see in your word that you are faithful. I see that you keep your promises. I'm going to continue to trust that and continue to believe that even when it's very challenging.
I love the way you tied that in from your ministry and your parenting too, because I think it's so true. I mean, none of us want to let go of control. We all think we can do it best, even just like unloading the dishwasher. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like all the little things. Or like I had my son sweep the floors the other day and I was like, okay. Like it took everything in me not to do it again. And
that's so funny. I was just having this conversation with my husband because it's about to be summertime, and in the thick of summer days, we're like, okay, we need to keep the kids. We want them to have more responsibility around the house. And I just noticed, especially with my little guys, it's like, I could do this so much faster and so much better if I would just do it myself.
I know, but you have to let go of the control, because if you don't, then they're never going to learn.
Right.
And like,
They've got to
then
learn
you're going
how
to
to
burn
do it.
out.
Yes.
You know,
exactly.
Whether you're working or parenting, if you try to do all of it, you're going to burn out. And like you said, we're not made to do it alone. We're made to do it in community. And we're also supposed to teach our kids how to sweep the floor.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's such a struggle for everyone, no matter what type of work they do or what stage they're in parenting, like you said. Because even letting go with adult children is a whole thing. But I think about sending your kids to like kindergarten for the first time. And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I'm supposed to send my child away for 8 hours and just like trust that they're okay, or
Right.
summer camp or whatever it is. It's such a process of learning. And you just have to do it more and more as they grow.
Oh my gosh, yes. All of parenting is such a lesson in surrender and trust over and over and over again. It really is.
That's why it's so humbling. So tell us a little bit more about Amazima, because it started with just a couple kids and now it's this whole thing. So tell us like where you are right now. What's your vision for where this is going to go?
Yeah. So our mission is discipleship through excellent education, authentic relationships, and transformed communities. And so that's really kind of at the heartbeat of everything we do is we select students who are from really vulnerable, really poor backgrounds who probably otherwise would never have an opportunity at an education. And we bring them to really excellent schools where they have the opportunity not just to get an education, but like we talked about, to be mentored and discipled. And our real focus is that every student who comes onto our campus, as well as their families, would be really seen and known and loved by us. And so the students' mentors know not only them, but they start to get involved with the whole family. And we have, arms of our ministry that reach out into the community and do different financial trainings for parents and guardians. We do farming trainings and job readiness trainings, all kinds of different things to not just educate the student, but kind of start to bring the whole community out of poverty. And so we've been doing that kind of model of ministry has been going on now for about 10 years. We've had our first graduates that have come all the way through the school that are getting ready to start university in a couple months. So,
it's so amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. There's a group of about 60 of them that are all doing internships in the community right now as they prepare for college. And it's just been really, really cool to see the fruit of all that's been invested in them over years and years. Now that fruit going out into the community. And they've got internships at local coffee shops and the local dentist and the local doctor's office. And just lots and lots of people are saying to us like, wow, what are you doing with these students? They're so incredible. They're so wonderful. So it really is exciting that our dream was that these students would grow into leaders that really do go back into their communities and start to change and empower and uplift their communities. And so seeing that actually starting to happen is like, this is so amazing. So our goal now is really to kind of package that model in a way that we can share with others. So there are lots and lots of other amazing Christian organizations in and around Uganda. There are lots of amazing schools. And because we believe so deeply in true and authentic relationships, it doesn't feel like it would make sense to take our model and just replicate it somewhere else on our own. So instead, we're really looking at trying to find the people who are already doing something similar in their own community and saying, how can we come alongside you and help? Because we've done a lot of the trial and error. We've seen some things that have really worked well. We've also made plenty of mistakes. And so just saying like, who are the people who already have the relational equity in the community? Because that's so important. And then how can Amazima come alongside and help some of these other existing organizations grow? So that's kind of our next like 5-10 year goal is to identify different places where we can replicate our model of ministry kind of under the banner of someone else's leadership so that we can give them the package that we've come up with to watch them make disciples in their own community.
Yeah. Where are some of the places that you have gone?
Well, we're just looking, great question. We're just looking in Uganda right now. So we feel like
keep it local.
Culture is so different everywhere, but Uganda is big and Uganda is a nation of young people. About 50% of the population is under the age of 18. So
wow.
there are ample young people to reach with the gospel. And so we're going into different regions of Uganda and trying to identify Christian ministries that might benefit from using our model of schooling.
That's amazing. 50%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. And if you imagine the generational impact,
nation.
Like if you invest in those people and get them in like gospel truth and invest in their communities, like your current students are, and what the culture could look like in a couple decades, is incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Because it is a nation of such young people, it feels like there's so much opportunity for impact.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
How can people partner if people are as excited about it as I feel? How can people partner with you and support your ministry?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They can find us online at amazima.org. So that's AMAZIMA.org. And then they can also find Amazima and myself, Katie Davis Majors, on Instagram. I also have a website personally where I write and share different things, and that links to Amazima. So even finding any of my stuff online will link pretty directly to Amazima. And there are all different ways to get involved financially. Even occasionally we look for staff members with a really specific skill set that we bring over. So they can sign up for our emails and just keep in touch.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'll put all that in show notes too, because I feel like people want to learn more and see where they can go and how they can help.
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing more about it and just kind of your journey and your heart, not just for your ministry, but for just the community at large and for families. And I just appreciate your wisdom that you shared with us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. That was just such a powerful reminder that compassion, when modeled well, can ripple out from our families to impact entire communities. Katie's story just really shows us that we don't have to do it all to make a difference. We simply need to be faithful where God has placed us, just trusting Him with the results. And I know that's easier said than done. So whether you're in a season of building, waiting, or letting go, may you find encouragement in Katie's example of living with open hands and a soft heart. Thank you again for listening. May God bless you this week and give you the wisdom to lead with love, the courage to let go when needed, and the grace to raise kids who reflect His compassion. You're doing holy work even on the hard days.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.